Hi, this is Dwayne again. I'm here to talk about something that's very important at this stage in our representation of my counsel with you. It's very important that you not make any significant changes in your life, financially or other things, unless you take an opportunity to speak with me. And let me illustrate. I'm holding in my hand some chicken eggs that were raised by my 4-year-old grandson on my grandfather's farm. And now it's the same farm that my mother was raised on. I was raised on that same farm as well. Now my son and my grandson live there and provide me with some breakfast eggs. When I was growing up, we raised chickens as well, and we had eggs. We had horses and cows, many cows, sheep, goat, chickens, of course. And as we raised the eggs, I was able to make my own breakfast for school. We lived on the farm, out of town. The school bus would come around at 7 o'clock in the morning, and so I would have to get up, even for first grade, and make my own breakfast. Dad was already working. Mom was out doing busy stuff. I had 7 brothers and sisters, and so I needed to make my own breakfast. I would fry an egg, or I'd scramble an egg and make a little omelet. The reason I was able to make those omelets was because, in first grade, was because when I was 4 and 5, my mother would allow me to experiment with cracking some eggs and making some omelets. And some of those early omelets were very messy and made a mess out of the kitchen. But my mother allowed me to do that so that I could learn and make my own meals in a very short period of time. Now, I've also brought with me an egg that was raised on a piece of ground that my father owned and that my brother-in-law raised some ostriches on that land. And I'm holding an ostrich egg, which basically represents a little bit more than a dozen regular chicken eggs. If I could make a mess with these chicken eggs when I was learning how to cook, can you imagine the huge mess I would have made with this ostrich egg? Well, that brings me to my point at this video, and that is your situation is difficult and dire. I'd love to help you make some positive changes and create some omelets out of the eggs that we have, but we don't want a mess, and we certainly don't want a big mess. We can make a big mess of your situation if you're not careful about the changes you make. You don't want to sell assets or transfer assets or acquire assets without giving me a call first. You don't want to accept a job that has an increase in pay or a decrease in pay based solely on how you think it will affect your financial situation or a possible bankruptcy proceeding. I have some years of experience in this, and I'd love to use that experience to help coach you into getting into a position and a proceeding where you can maximize your personal financial situation. It's real important that you not change your marital status. If you're going to get married, congratulations, but don't get married without talking to me first. The timing of when you get married will be very important. The timing of maybe a separation or a divorce would be very important as well. It's possible that between now and when we meet again, you could be served with a lawsuit. It's not a world that you understand, but I do understand that world. It's very important that you not just bury your head in the sand like an ostrich, because usually what happens to ostriches is they get their tails kicked. It's very important that you take control of that situation with that lawsuit by scheduling an appointment to meet with me so I can see the documents and I can tell you what you're up against and kind of guide you through what I would do if I were in your situation. It's terribly important that you don't go out and convey assets away because you think that you're helping your financial situation. If you convey an asset like a motor vehicle to a brother-in-law or to another family member to quote unquote protect it, you might find that what's happening is you're exposing that asset out there to your creditors or maybe even your bankruptcy trustee. For example, I had a client who had a $5,000 car. He couldn't afford to lose that car. He needed it to get back and forth to work. So in his experience with the financial world, his decision was to convey that car out to a family member, and then he thought that the car was protected and he can use it to get back and forth to work. The reality was he could no longer claim his motor vehicle exemption in that car. And therefore, it was totally exposed outside of the bankruptcy. And once we filed the bankruptcy, if it had still remained in his family member's name, it would have been taken by the trustee. Sometimes we want to pay family members or other close partners or business associates monies that we owe them before we file for bankruptcy. That creates what's called preferential transfers. And those preferential transfers can be reversed by the trustee in bankruptcy. And that creates a very difficult hardship on your family members or your business associates or your what are called insiders when those resources are taken from them at a time that they might not have the resources. They might have used the money you paid them to pay another bill they had. So I implore you, please allow me to counsel you to help your financial mess, your situation that you're in, not become a huge mess and a big mess. If you would, please feel free to give me a call with any changes you're going to make in your financial life. I'll look forward to seeing you in our office.